Therāpadāna.
The Legends of the Theras. Ekapadumiya chapter the 35th. 338. 341. Ekapadumiya, the victor Padumapujaka, was the master of everything. Explaining all existences, he ferried many folks across. At that time I was a swan king. I was distinguished among birds. Plunged into a natural lake. I am sporting the sports of swans. Padumapujaka, world knower, sacrificial recipient. The victor would fly all the time, over that natural lake there. I having seen the god of gods, the self become one world leader, gathered lotuses with my beak, lovely with 100 petals, and having broken off the stems, tossing them into the sky I did puja to the best Buddha, pleased by the leader of the world. Padumapujaka, world knower, sacrificial recipient, the teacher standing in the sky, gave me this expression of thanks. Due to this single lotus gift, with intention and firm resolve, for 100,000 eons, you won't fall into suffering. Having said this, the Sambuddha, whose name was Ultimate Lotus, after detailing my karma, went according to his wishes, in the 100,000 eons. Since I did that good karma then, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of Buddha Puja, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Ekapadumiya Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Ekapadumiya Thera is finished. (342). Tisuppalamaliya. On Candabaga River's bank. I was a monkey at that time. I saw the stainless Buddha who was seated on a mountainside. I was enraptured seeing him, shining forth in all directions, like a regal sal tree in bloom, bearing the great and lesser marks. Happy, with my heart exultant, and my mind bristling with joy, I offered on the Buddha's head 3 lovely blue lotus flowers. After offering those flowers to Vipassy, the greatest sage, approaching him respectfully, I then departed facing north, crouched over going off from there. With a mind that was very clear, I alighted on a mountain and attained the end of my life, due to that karma done very well, with intention and firm resolve. Discarding my human body, I went to Tvetisa then, and afterwards 300 times, I ruled over the world of gods, and furthermore 500 times. I was a king who turned the wheel. In the 91 eons since I did that flower puja then, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of Buddha Puja, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Tisuppalamaliya Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Tisuppalamaliya Thera is finished. (343). Dhajadayaka. The teacher then was named Tissa, the world's best one, the bull of men. Having seen his passing away, I hoisted a flag at that place. Due to that karma done very well, with intention and firm resolve, discarding my human body, I went to Tvetisa then, and afterwards 300 times, I ruled over the world of gods, and furthermore 500 times. I was a king who turned the wheel. There was also much local rule, innumerable by counting. I experienced own karma, formerly well done by myself. In the 92 eons since I did that good karma back then, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of giving a flag. Today, if I should wish for it, the world with forests and mountains is covered by a coma cloth, the fruit off what I did back then, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Dhajadayaka Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Dhajadayaka Thera is finished. (344). Tikinkhanikapujaka. close to the Himalayan range. There's a mountain, Dhajadayaka. There I saw a robe made of rags, stuck up in the top of a tree. At that time I then scattered there 3 lovely kikai flowers. Happy and with a happy heart, I did puja to that rag robe. In the 31 eons since I did that good karma back then, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That is the fruit of 3 flowers, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Tikinkhanikapujaka Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Tikinkhanikapujaka Thera is finished.
Nalagarika.
Close to the Himalayan range, there's a mountain named Harita. The self become one, Narada, dwelt at the roots of a tree then. Having fashioned a house of reeds, I covered it with grass as thatch, and clearing a walkway I then gave them to the self become one. In the 14th aeon ago, I delighted in the God's world, and 74 times did I exercise rule over the gods, and 77 times I was then a wheel-turning monarch. There was also much local rule, innumerable by counting. My dwelling place was very tall, rising up like Indra's post, 1,000-pillared, unsurpassed, a mansion full of radiance, enjoying both accomplishments. Incited by my wholesome roots, I went forth in the religion of Gautama, the Blessed One, being one bent on exertion, calmed, devoid of grounds for rebirth, like elephants with broken chains. I am living without constraint, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Nalagarika Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Nalagarika Thera is finished.
Campakapupphiya.
In the Himalayan region, there's a mountain named Kavala. The Buddha named Sudassana was living on the mountainside, taking Himalayan flowers. I saw the Buddha, stainless one, the flood crosser, the undefiled, traveling through the sky just then. At that time I placed on his head 7 fragrant Campaka blooms. I offered them to the Buddha, the self become one, the great sage. In the 31 eons since I did puja with those flowers, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of Buddha puja, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Campakapupphiya Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Campakapupphiya Thera is finished. Padumapujaka, close to the Himalayan range, there's a mountain named Ramesa. The Buddha, known as Sambhava, then dwelt there in the open air. Coming out of my residence, I brought him a lotus flower. Having brought a single one, I went forward into rebirth. In the 91 eons since I offered him that flower, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of Buddha puja, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Padumapujaka Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Padumapujaka Thera is finished. Tinamutthidayaka. In the Himalayan region, there's a mountain named Lambaka. The Sambuddha, Upatissa, walked back and forth in open air. I was a deer hunter back then, within a grove in the forest. Having seen that God among gods, the self become unconquered one, with a mind that was very clear, I then gave a handful of grass to the greatest sage, the Buddha, so that he could sit down on it. Giving the God of gods some more, I brought pleasure to my own heart. Saluting the Sambuddha, I then departed, facing the north. Not long after, a king of beasts injured me where I had traveled. Being brought down by that lion, I passed away right on the spot. Near when I did that karma for the best Buddha, the undefiled, quick like an arrow just released, I went to the world of the gods. My lovely sacrificial post, created by good karma there, was Milka cent bu large, made out of gold, covered in flags, radiating its brilliant light, like the risen 100-rayed sun, was crowded with divine maidens. I greatly enjoyed myself there, falling from the world of the gods, incited by my wholesome roots, coming back to the human state. I attained my arahantship. In the 94 eons since, I gave him a place to sit down. I've come to know no bad rebirth, the fruit of a handful of grass, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Tinamutthidayaka Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Tinamutthidayaka Thera is finished. Tikinkhanikapujaka. I saw the Buddha, stainless one, the flood crosser, undefiled one, sitting down on a mountainside, shining like a dinner plate tree. Seeing wild mangosteen in bloom, I broke off sprigs with fruit on them. Happy, my heart filled with pleasure, I gave them to him Vesabu. In the 91 eons since, I gave that fruit to the Buddha. I've come to know no bad rebirth. That is the fruit of giving fruit, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Tikinkhanikapujaka Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Tikinkhanikapujaka Thera is finished. (350) Ekangjaliya. The Sambuddha named Revata dwelt on a riverbank back then. I saw the Buddha, stainless one, like the sun with its rays of gold, like beaten gold atop a forge, burning bright like cedar charcoal, shining forth like the morning star. I pressed my hands together once. In the 94 eons since, I pressed my hands together then. I've come to know no bad rebirth. That is the fruit of saluting, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Ekangjaliya Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Ekangjaliya Thera is finished. The summary: Paduma, Uppalahatha, Dhaja, Kakaika, Nala, Campaka, Paduma, Muhi, Tinduk, and thus Ekangjali. There are 6 plus 60 verses, which are counted by those who know. The Ekapadumiya chapter, the 35th.